The opportunity to meet Wyatt probably about a year and a half ago when I was working at Midland, and we had some speakers come in, and we just wanted to bring in inspirational people who had an amazing story to tell about the journeys that they had been on. And Wyatt came in and spoke, and what really struck me about what he said was that, and I apologize if there's not enough chairs. I'll grab some more here in a second, I apologize, or someone else could. What struck me about Wyatt is just the level of dedication that he has to sport and to being excellent. I was struck by his story, his journey, and the passion that he has for competing. And one of the awesome things, too, about Wyatt is just that he doesn't allow anything to define him beyond his work ethic and what he commits himself to be excellent. That's what he allows to define him. And I just absolutely enjoyed what he had to say. I enjoyed his story, and I was really excited to have him come in and spend some time here in Nebraska athletics, where I know a lot of you have that same commitment to excellence, that same work ethic, and you don't really focus on the limitations, but you focus on the possibilities. And I think that's something that aligns with Wyatt. So, ladies and gentlemen, here to talk about his journey and his story, and just a really awesome all-around guy, put your hands together for Wyatt Spalding.
Thank you, Dr. Shatters. Thanks for having me. So one of the great things, I've loved Nebraska sports ever since I was a little kid. But recently, one of the great things that I love about this university is I've got to participate in the intramural program here. This past fall and winter, I played in the Unified Intramurals Club. I played flag football and basketball. And it was a great experience because I've always wanted to play more football games for my flag football season, and I wanted to play in a winter basketball league because for Special Olympics we only play like 2, sometimes 4. We're supposed to play 4. We usually play 2 because the snow always cancels one of our tournaments. But the opportunity to get out and compete means a lot to me and to all the other Special Olympians because we don't get many games. See, that's what inclusion means to me. Being able to compete. Being able to go out on the court or football field and show everyone it doesn't matter your ability, your disability, whether you have one or not, you got a chance. Even if it's a 1% chance, you got a chance to show everyone that you can win and you have the opportunity to prove it to them. But when I was 12, I wasn't included and I didn't get the opportunity to compete with my twin brother, Weston, and my friends. So all summer long, we're training go out for our middle school basketball team, and when tryouts come, my parents come up to us and Wes, you can sign up. Why we're not going to let you play? And as a 12-year-old, what do you mean you're not going to let me play? You let Weston play. I was going to play the year before, but dealt with some medical issues, so I couldn't play. And I didn't really understand it, but I had to have this talk with my dad about why I couldn't go out. And you're just not big enough, Wyatt. Your reaction time's 2 seconds slower than everybody else because of your cerebral palsy. You have one good leg, one good arm. And if something happens out there, I couldn't live with myself. So, but I did say I could play pickup games at the Y and play pickup games with my brother and shoot hoops, but I couldn't play on an actual team. I could be the manager, but to a 12-year-old, that's not the same. That's not the same as being able to compete for a medal when it really matters. I thought about quitting sports altogether, but I don't know, there's something that came over me. The way to deal with not going out for my basketball team was I went to the Y and I shot more baskets. It just was a way to cope with having cerebral palsy and medical conditions that my friends and my family, they didn't have. They couldn't understand what it was like to not be included like that and to sit on the sidelines while your friends and your best friend, your twin brother, gets to play. did get to play pickup games at the Y, but I mostly shot hoops all by myself. Every day after school, I'd go shoot 200 to 500 shots a day, do defensive drills, dribbling drills, run suicides, because I wanted to prove to people that I could go out for my middle school team someday and hopefully maybe play high school basketball. And there was just like this day, I don't really remember it, but after like probably a while of probably a year or two in middle school, feeling sorry for myself, I was like, I'm not gonna let this, bring me down. I'm going to prove to my family, my friends, that I can go out for high school sports, and one day I'm gonna play with Wes again on the basketball court. And what got me through it is watching basketball and other sports on TV. If I couldn't go out and do my favorite thing in the world, which was to shoot hoops in my driveway, I'd watch basketball and football, even baseball. I know it's slow, but I would watch it because there was nothing else to do. I'd watch motivational sports movies and documentaries over and over. And this is before like Netflix and Hulu, and there was nothing else to do, like I said. So I'd watch like Remember the Titans 2 times a day. I've probably seen it like over 300 times. But these movies, when I'd be sick, they would motivate me to like get better and to want to get back out on the basketball court, football field, and prove to people that it doesn't matter what your ability is. If you put in the work, it can happen for you. So after about from 6th grade to my junior year of high school, I'm practicing every day. But I also started to play tennis. So in the summertime was my favorite time of year. I loved playing sports all summer long, all day. Except when I got in high school, my parents wanted me to get a job, which was a bummer. So I made sure I worked enough so my parents wouldn't get mad at me for not working. But when I wouldn't work, I'd work out anywhere from 4, 6, sometimes 8 hours a day. I'd play basketball for 3 hours, sometimes, and then play tennis for 5 hours. There was these 2 tennis courts outside by our YMCA, and I'd hit off this wall for hours and hours in the 95-degree heat, humidity, Nebraska weather. No matter what the day was, whether I had asthma, my blood sugar way low, I had to go home that day. The next day I'd be out there again in the same 90-degree weather, like doing drills, running suicides, hitting tennis balls off the wall, practicing serving. And then I'd do the same thing at home in the driveway and play basketball for hours and hours. And what I took from like watching pro athletes and other athletes just in general was if you really want it, you got to strive for greatness. You can't settle for just being good enough. And all those hours of practicing, my dad's words were like ringing in my head. You got to be better than the next guy. You're 2 steps, maybe 5 steps behind everybody. So you got to work harder. When everyone's inside watching games, playing video games, you got to be outside working on your game because they don't have one good leg, and one good arm. So that's what I did. And it was kind of crazy. I wanted to work out like 6 to 8 hours every day. My body was like, no, don't do it. You're going to kill us. And I would like be so sore. But I'd work out anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours a day. And then on a day when I felt like it, I'd work out for 8 hours. And I didn't know much about recovery, so it probably wasn't the smartest thing to do at times. But I felt like, I talked to my brother, who's really into like nutrition and stuff, and he's like, you kind of had to do that. Because you had cerebral palsy, you had to do stuff that people weren't willing to do. And the people that are like crazy, the people think are crazy, and the athletes that just do insane workouts, those are like the best athletes or the best people in their profession at their job. Because they want it. They're hungry. And they just want it more than everybody else. And that's the way I took it. It's like, if you want anything in life, you gotta want it more than everyone else. So after these years of practicing all by myself, I did it. In my senior year of high school, the first game of the season, with 1:30 left, against Fremont High against Columbus, I checked into the game. I was number 4, I checked in the game with my twin brother Wes, my best friend Kenny Bristol, and I played in a high school basketball game. But just like how you go through successes in sports, you fail a lot more in sports and in life. And I didn't make a shot. So it's like a bittersweet moment. I'm really happy I played because when I was younger, nobody thought I would ever suit up for a high school basketball game. But I did it. I checked into an actual game. But I didn't make a shot because I could barely shoot the ball then. You see, at that time, the scoliosis in my back had gotten a lot worse. It was at like an 80-degree angle. So like the first 18 years of my life, my head was like this always, and then I was like always kind of leaning. I've never experienced what it's like to hold my head up straight or have a straightened back. I was supposed to play senior night, but I had to play the first game of the season because after Christmas, I had to go to St. Louis Children's Hospital and have a back fusion surgery. And so we won the game even. I mean, we were up by a lot, that's why I was in the game, because we had the game in hand. And we won, but I'm in the locker room and my brother are like crying. And it was more like, yeah, I didn't make the shot, but I think it was like, it wasn't the way it was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Supposed to play senior night. I'm supposed to have a good season, make it a state tournament maybe, and be like a movie. But, life and sports, it's not like a movie. It doesn't always work out the way you plan. So I go to St. Louis Children's Hospital to have this surgery. And the day before surgery, I got sick. I got this cold in my lungs called RSV, which I was like coughing, had a fever. And I probably had it a million times, but never noticed. But, so they rescheduled the surgery, and then rescheduled it like a week later. And then rescheduled it again because I was still coughing. So instead of being there for 3 weeks, I was there for 6 weeks. And the first time they rescheduled the surgery was probably the lowest moment of my life. I thought about giving up and quitting. I put in all these hours. I did everything right. And what did I get for it? I didn't make a shot in the game like I wanted. And everyone stormed the court and lifted me up. I didn't get a stay for my brother's senior year of basketball. Here I'm in this hospital room, about to have the surgery. I'm doing everything they asked me to, I guess for the most part. And now the day before surgery, I'm sick. And what do I have to look forward to after being sick? I'm gonna have a surgery and be in excruciating pain. But then I thought about tennis. And every summer, I would keep track of my record in tennis, whether I played in a league or just asked one of my random basketball or football buddies to play me. I kept track if I won or lost. And every summer, I had a losing record. I probably lost over 20 matches some summers. I think my best summer was 20 wins, which I never reached before. I lost 40 matches. But no matter what, if I won or lost, I was back out on those tennis courts on the extremely hot days, putting in work, striving to want to reach greatness. So now, at the lowest moment in my life, I wanted to quit, I wanted to give up, but I'm like, I can't do that now. Not when my life is on the line, when it really counts. And that's what sports teaches us. You're supposed to play sports, teaches you how to overcome adversity, and then when you get into the real world, you remember some of the lessons you learned in sports. For me, I kind of went the opposite way, real world adversity, and then played sports. But I still didn't understand why I would have to go through it, but I remembered what sports taught me, and that you gotta overcome adversity, no matter how hard the deficit. Whether your team's down by 5 or down by 20, you can't stop fighting. You can't stop and just give up during the middle of the game. So that's what I told myself in that hospital room, was I can't quit now, even though I really want to. I feel terrible, but I'm gonna overcome this. I'm gonna be a way better athlete, than what I was before the surgery. So I had this 10-hour back surgery, and about 4 months after, 4 months after my surgery, I was able to walk again by myself. Because before that time, the doctors told my parents, it's gonna be like taking care of a baby. He can't like do anything for himself. You're gonna have to help him with everything. So for my physical therapy, I thought I had to go through like excruciating physical therapy